For the rest of the course, we will see a brief art history. This is the first chapter we are going to see, the prehistoric and ancient Mediterranean world. So let's see the beginning of the art history. So here, there is a Mediterranean Sea where the story of Western art begins. It is surrounding Africa, Near East, and Europe. Beginning around 3000 BCE, numerous ancient civilizations arose, overlapped, and interacted. They learned from one another and conquered each other, and they transformed into the world. This is the first scripture the art historian found. This is a female figure sculpture 25,000 years ago. It was found near Willendorf, a town in present-day Austria. So look at the size. It is small enough to fit comfortable in the palm of hand. It has a detailed hairstyle that covers the entire head, and the body's proportions are exaggerated. Scholars long assumed that they were fertility figures used in some symbolic way to encourage pregnancy and childbirth. This is the first painting the scholars found. This is a daily life of the Neolithic period in the rock paintings of the Tessilinezol resin of Algeria in northern Africa. Today, Tessilinezol is part of the Sahara, the world's largest desert. So, so we can assume at that time the desert, had not yet emerged when you see this painting. The resin as a vast grassland, home to animals, plants, and the people we see depicted here. The figure depicts the essence of human and animal bodies in actively posed, stylized silhouette. So now let's see the Mediterranean world. So today we're gonna see four the ancient art styles. Before the break, we will see Mesopotamia and Egypt. So let me show you the ancient Mediterranean world's timeline. So here is the female figure. No, here. So the era is Neolithic period. So probably this sculpture is made by the common material at that time. And here, the rock painting in northern Africa is about 5000 BCE. And so Mesopotamia is here, arose about 20,000 years before this century. And this area of Mesopotamia was highly desirable. So many empires were built and disappeared, like Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, Assyria, and Babylon again. On the other hand, the Egypt was continued as one empire for 1700 years. And it was parallel with the Mesopotamia's time period. So now let's see the Mesopotamia first. So the region known to the ancient world as Mesopotamia occupied a large area, roughly equivalent to the present-day nation of Iraq. The fertile soil watered by Tigris rivers right here and the Euphrates River made Mesopotamia highly desirable, but a lack of natural boundaries made it easy to invade and difficult to defend. So the Sumerian built a city-state in Mesopotamia very first, and the first empire was by Akkadian, is located by here, and the second empire was by Babylon, the Babylonian, and the third empire of Mesopotamia was built by Assyrian, and the last empire of the Mesopotamia was built Babylonian again. So let's see one by one. So the first cities of Mesopotamia arose in the southern area, region called Sumer. The Sumerians were the first people to leave behind them not just artifacts, but also words. Lacking stone, the Sumerians built their cities of sun-dried brick using the load-bearing construction technique. So let's see this, architect. Can you guess what it is? It's so let me give you tips. It's a musical instrument.
A harp.
Yes, yes, very good, very good. That's
Wait, I didn't hear him. What was it?
harp.
A
The
harp.
harp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looks very luxurious, right? I love this. All right. So now let's see the first empire by Akkadian. I just showed you a few of the the building and the architect like architect and the musical instrument because they are only the things we can see now because they are so old artifacts and it's the city is built in before the century, so I can just show you one or two examples for each empire or city-state. And by 2300 BCE, the Sumerian city state we just saw together had been conquered by their neighbors to the north, the Akkadians. And under ruler Sargon I, the Akkadians established the region's first empire. Sargon I's grandson, Naram-Sin, commemorated his victory over the Lullaby people of eastern Mesopotamia with monumental stele of King Naram-Sin. So this is it. It pictures the Akkadian's king dressed in godlike regalia and striding confidently over the defeated soldiers. And the next empire by Babylonian in the Mesopotamia area. Amoriti, who consolidated their role over the region and established a capital at Babylon. The most important legacy of the Babylon Empire is not artistic, but legal. A set of ethics and laws complied under the ruler Hammurabi, known as Hammurabi's Code. It is the only complete legal code to survive from the ancient world, and it has provided historians with valuable insight into the structure and concerns of Mesopotamian society. And the third empire by Assyrian. Assyrians had been gathering power and territory since before 1100 BCE. Their military strength increased significantly under Ashurnasirpal II. It was the largest empire the region had seen by the time. Ashurnasirpal's palace had gates fronted by monumental stone slabs, this one, curved into enormous human-headed winged beasts, a bull, and a lion. The last empire by Neo-Babylonian. Babylonian again came to power in Mesopotamia in the late 7th century BCE, and they formed a kingdom now called the Neo-Babylonian. These Neo-Babylonians surely must be ranked among the great architects of the ancient time. They developed a true arch like this, beautiful arch, before the Romans did, and were masters of decorative design for architecture. So we just saw all the city-state and the empires in the Mesopotamia area, and now let's see Egypt art. So the kingdom of Egypt was protected by rocky, unnavigable stretches of the Nile River, and to the east, to the east and the west by vast desert. So Egypt, during much of its long history, was spared the waves of immigration and invasion that continually transformed Mesopotamia. The Greek philosopher Plato wrote that Egyptian art did not change for 10,000 years. So this is a Sphinx. Now, it's the symbol of Egyptian art. It is the essence of stability, order, and durance. It faces the rising sun, seeming to cast its immovable gaze down the centuries for all eternity. Sphinx has the body of a reclining lion and the head of a man, thought to be the pharaoh Khafre, whose pyramid tomb is the center. This is the palette of Narmer. We saw it, together before, and it is called like a Narmer's pose. Narmer's pose is typical of Egyptian art, and when depicting an important personage, the Egyptian artist strove to show each part of the body to best advantage. so that it could be read clearly by the viewer. So Narmar's body is seen in profile, right? And his torso full front, and his head in profile, but his eye front again. The same pose recurs throughout most two-dimensional art in Egypt. Egyptian buries their most lavish art in royal tombs. Rulers were sent into eternity outfitted with everything they would need to continue life in the sumptuous style they had known on earth, such as furniture, jewelry, chariots, clothing, and architects of all kinds. So, um, before the break, let's see a sketchbook project related to this chapter. So today, everyone, we're gonna do a morphing drawing. So let's see what the morphing drawing is. Morphing is a special effect in motion pictures and animations that changes or morphs one image or shape into another through a seamless transition. It looks like a very contemporary technique. However, now morphing art has been tried by ancient artists, like we just learned. Um, and we just saw this Assyrian's sculpture. Um, so as you can see, it has enormous human-headed winged beast and a bull and a lion. Here is another example. So they have wild beast head, and human's body, and bird's feet. That is the ancient style of morphing. And it looks more aggressive morphing here. The left beast has bird's wing, feet, and a feather. This is a Greek sculpture. Look at the left figure, the center. Um, it is half human and half horse. So now back to the 21st century. There are lots of fun morphing images. So I will show you. It's a elephant with the octopus. Looks very creative, right? It's a frog with the orange peel. Oh, I love this. It's a beautiful, lady with the, bird's wing on a odd spot. It looks beautiful. It's a turtle, and when you see closer, you will see an island. Oh, it's a Caesar guy. Oh, I love this. Now, it's a beetle with a cello. So, all right, you can guess, what we are going to do now, right? So, you will need a sketchbook, pencil, eraser, and any color medium you have for this project. There are 5 categories like, figure, animal, object, nature, and machine. So please choose at least 2 categories and morph them. So for example, you can choose a human being as a figure and a horse among animals for your morphing drawing. As usual, please post the work process and with a short description, and please reply to your peers. And please post your drawing by coming Monday, and please reply to your peers by coming Tuesday. All right, so let me share more examples. Oh, it's an alligator heel. Very creative, right? And a cat, snake. Look at the skin, It's just, made like, the cat's fur. Very cool. Oh, I love this. Now, it's a mushroom scallion. I'm sorry, scorpion. And it's a ant with the measuring cup. Oh, how creative, right? Ah, you can do it. It's a girl with a wolf. So that's it. You can do it like, color and black. I'm sorry, color or, black and white. Um, so just, use all your creativity. I can wait to see your creative morphing drawing. So when you're ready to post, you don't need to finish it, you know, you can just post the, work process. And here, week 9-1, sketchbook project, morphing drawing. Let's go down here. Any question about this project? All right, so let's get started. So we are, we just learned Mesopotamia and Egypt together, right? Before the break. And now we will see Greece and Rome as the ancient Mediterranean art. So this is the timeline again. Now in Mesopotamia, we saw a city-state by Sumerian, first empire by Akkadians, and second empire by Babylonian, and the third empire by Assyrian, and the last empire by Neo-Babylonian. And we learned Egypt. And now let's see Greece. So the Greece comes from Aegean culture. The artistic cultures of the Aegean um, parallel in the time those of Egypt and Mesopotamia about 3000 BCE. And the last period of Greece is called Hellenism. And let's see Rome. Rome is here. Rome began before the century and continued to the 4th century. So please remember this timeline. Now let's see the Aegean culture first, before the Greece. So Greek culture arose on the lands bordering sea, the Aegean Sea. So this is the Aegean Sea. There are 3 Aegean major cultures, Cycladic, Minoan, and Mycenaean. So let's see one by one. The Cycladic is centered on a group of small islands in the Aegean. Cycladic art is puzzle because we know almost nothing about the people who made it. It consists almost exclusively of nude female figure like this. And the Minoan culture is based on the island of Crete. It's right here. at the southern end of the Aegean, centered on the great city of Knossos. Um, Minoan culture can be traced to about 3000 BCE. We take the name from a legendary king called Minos, who supposedly ruled at Knossos. And the palace at Knossos features post and intel construction with painted columns topped by pillow-like capitals. And let's see, Mycenaean. Mycenaean culture, so called because it formed around the city of Mycenae. It's right here, flourished on the south coast of the Greek mainland. Mycenaean built palaces and temples, but they are also noted for their elaborate barrier costumes and tombs like Egyptians. Burial places in and around Mycenae have yielded large quantities of exquisite gold objects, such as a rhyton in the shape of a lion's head. So now, let's move on to the Greece and Rome. The word classical refers to two cultures, like Greece and Rome. It aesthetically indicates artwork of the highest quality and standard. So now let's see the Greece art first. The Greek philosophers were the first to speculate on the nature and purpose of art. Sculpture, painting, and architecture were discussed as technique, in our words, technology and technique. Technique is things requiring a special body of knowledge and skill to make. So there are three artistic periods in Greek art. First is the archaic, and the next period is classical, and the last period is Hellenistic. So let's see archaic period first. So this is called crater. Crater is one of many standard Greek pottery shapes. A crater was a vessel used for wine. And this is called like koros. Uh, Greek statue depicts an anonymous boy, and thousands of such figures were carved, all of them in the same pose, and all nude and young and idealized with broad shouldered and slim waist and bodies. And the Greek female statue is called core. And the painting technique on the pottery in this archaic period is called red figure style. The ground is painted black like this, while figures are left mostly unpainted with only thin black lines to describe the forms. And the red that results is the natural color of fired earth. And earlier archaic pottery had employed the reverse color scheme with black figures painted on a red ground. Now, let's move on to the classic period of Greece. So the classic period dates from 480 BCE to 323 BCE. It is considered to be the height of Greek art. So Greek invented contrapposed pose. This is called like a contrapposed pose to express the potential for motion inherent in a standing human. So bronze was the favored material for freestanding sculpture in ancient Greece because it's much more flexible than the marble to create this natural pose. So now let's compare these two styles of Greek sculptures. Now the left one is archaic period sculpture of Greece, and the right one is classical period sculpture of Greece. So we can clearly see the differences between these two sculptures, right? So everyone, when you see these two sculptures, what's the difference?
One's more detailed than the other.
Very good, very good. How about the pose?
One looks more realistic, like posed more realistically.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So the left one is the archaic Caros sculpture. It was we can say it is an amazing achievement, to create a freestanding human sculpture. Despite of the great process, it still looks unnatural and less detailed. Yes. And the movement is very limited. We can just find the movement only on the left foot. On the other hand, the classical contrapposto sculpture shows incredibly natural movement and it has lots of details. Yes, it is realistic, very realistic. So we can tell this is the height of Greek art. So although all ancient Greek and Rome art is broadly known as classical, the art produced during classical period was considered by later European scholars to the finest of the finest. Athens was the cultural and artistic center at this time, so this is Athens. So, which was chief of the city-state, had been built around a high hill, Acropolis. Looks familiar with us, right? This is Parthenon at Acropolis. So Greeks dedicated to the goddess Athena Parthenos, or Athena the warrior maiden. The Parthenon is a Doric style temple with columns all around external and inner row of columns on each of the short walls. So let's see what the Doric style is in detail. So the left one, this is the Doric style that the Parthenon has. Doric style column is simple and classical compared to the other two columns, such as Ionic and Corinthian. So can you see the difference of Doric style with the other styles of column?
It's not as detailed as the other ones. It's more simple.
Exactly. Yes. Now, let's focus on the column shape. Oops, sorry. The column's shape. Is it straight? No, it's not. The thickness between the bottom to the top is not same at all. So the Doric style's columns are not straight like this. However, the tall columns may appear to, bend inward at the center, so they look absolutely straight from the viewer's eyes. So that is called antithesis. That technique is called antithesis. So the architects of the classic Greek art calculated the relative errors by the viewers and they applied it to the temple. So this is amazing because they did it 2,500 years ago. Now let's see the last period of Greek art is called Greek art called like Hellenism. So Hellenism begins about 323 BCE. This style emphasizes balance and restraint while also favoring dynamic poses and extreme emotion. So let's see the example. So the sculptures of this era pose with a theatrical quality and complex poses. So there is a video about this Hellenism art in the modern room. So please watch it to see more beautiful Hellenistic art. So now we can recognize the different styles by the Greek art period. So the first period, the archaic period, shows the limitation to show the movement. And the classic period shows the completed technique to create natural and classic freestanding sculpture. And the last Hellenistic period shows emotions, dynamic movement beyond the classic. So please remember the differences. That's the most important part of this chapter. Now let's move on to the Rome. The Roman era begins about 510 BCE and it overlaps the Greek era. The Romans admired Greek art and copied many of their works. So the most Hellenistic sculptures, we just saw, these, sculptures of the last Greek period, the Hellenism. These are not the original. They are not made by, Greek artists. So these are all the copied work by Roman artists. Oops. So the most of the original Greek sculptures were destroyed by the church during the Middle Age. We're gonna learn the Middle Age in the next meeting. So the most of the Greek sculptures were we are able to see are made by Romans. So these are all the copied works by Romans, especially for the sculptures. And Roman art tends toward realism. As you can see on the left wall painting, all the figures look very natural and realistic. And the Romans were best known for their architecture and engineering. Their most famous monument is the Colosseum. Everyone knows Colosseum, right? So Colosseum covers over 6 acres and it has 80 arched entries and exits. And accommodated over 50,000 people. It is truly a symbol of Rome. So that's it for the prehistoric and the ancient Mediterranean world chapter. We have a discussion related to this chapter. So this is the topic. Discuss the architecture of the ancient Greece and Rome. What advancement did each culture made in buildings, and why are these works still considered such marvels today? So please answer this question by this Monday, and by this Tuesday, please reply to your peers